Former UFC champ Jiri isn't known for trash talk, but that changed following the fallout from UFC 327. After losing the vacant light heavyweight title fight to Carlos Ulberg via a sudden first-round knockout, he found himself at the center of controversy, not just for the result, but for what was said afterward. The fight itself took a dramatic turn. Early on, Jiri appeared to have success targeting Ulberg's leg, potentially compromising his movement, but then his output slowed noticeably. That hesitation proved costly, as Ulberg capitalized with a perfectly timed punch that ended the fight abruptly and crowned him the new champion following Pereira vacating the belt. Post-fight, things got complicated. During his in-cage interview with Joe Rogan, Jiri alluded to the idea that he may have shown restraint when he sensed Ulberg was hurt, comments that were interpreted by many as suggesting mercy. Ulberg quickly rejected that narrative, dismissing the idea and pouring cold water on any talk of an immediate rematch, while also questioning his authenticity. That response clearly didn't sit well. In a rare moment of open hostility, he fired back during a later interview, taking a personal jab at Ulberg and rejecting the entire mercy storyline. He clarified that the word wasn't even his, insisting it was Rogan's interpretation, and emphasized that his mindset has always been about pushing through adversity and defeating opponents through effort, not taking it easy. Despite the sharp words, Jiri also showed accountability. He openly admitted that Ulberg caught him clean and deserved the win, while shifting focus towards self-improvement. He spoke about making adjustments to his preparation, speed, and overall approach, signaling that he's already mentally moving toward his next fight rather than dwelling on the loss. Meanwhile, Ulberg's situation adds another wrinkle to the division. The new champion is expected to be sidelined for several months due to a torn ACL suffered during the fight, leaving uncertainty around the title picture. With the belt effectively on pause, the UFC could consider an interim title bout, and Jiri has hinted that his return timeline might align with whatever comes next. The tension between the two fighters has now added a personal edge to a potential rematch. What started as a technical and tactical breakdown of a surprising finish has quickly evolved into a rivalry with genuine friction. If circumstances line up once Ulberg is healthy, there's now far more than just a title at stake.
Paddy Pimblett has never been subtle when it comes to building hype, but this time he may have taken things a step further, essentially revealing his next opponent without saying it outright. All signs now point to a showdown with Benoit Saint-Denis at UFC 329 on July 11th, a card that's expected to be headlined by the long-awaited return of Conor McGregor. After falling short in his interim lightweight title bid against Justin Gaethje earlier this year, Pimblett is now looking to rebuild momentum, but not by taking an easy route. Instead, he appears ready to face one of the division's most dangerous and aggressive contenders in Saint-Denis, a fighter who has been calling for the matchup and steadily building his own reputation. The clues have been stacking up. First, Pimblett revealed he was training extensively with southpaws, an immediate red flag for anyone familiar with Saint-Denis' style. Then came the more obvious tease. In a recent video, Pimblett closed things out while wearing a beret, a garlic necklace, and eating a baguette. Hardly subtle imagery, and about as clear a nod to a French opponent as you can get without naming him directly. It lines up perfectly with Saint-Denis' own hints about facing a British opponent next, making this one of the least secrets in recent UFC matchmaking. What makes the potential fight even more interesting is the timing and stakes. Pimblett had been on a rapid rise before his loss to Gaethje, building a strong following and positioning himself as a future title contender. Now, instead of easing back into competition, he appears willing to take on a high-risk opponent immediately, likely as an underdog for the first time in his UFC run. For Saint-Denis, it's a chance to take out one of the promotion's most recognizable names and leap further into title contention. His recent performances have showcased a relentless, high-pressure style that could pose serious problems for Pimblett, especially if the fight turns into a war of attrition. The backdrop of UFC 329 only adds to the intrigue.
With McGregor's comeback looming and names like Max Holloway also being discussed for the card, the event is shaping up to be one of the biggest of the year. A co-main event between Pimblett and Saint-Denis would fit perfectly into that spotlight: high energy, high stakes, and guaranteed action. While the UFC hasn't made anything official yet, Pimblett's latest antics make it increasingly clear that the announcement is only a matter of time, and when it does become official, it won't just be another fight, it'll be a defining moment for both men with real consequences in a stacked lightweight division. Amanda Nunes didn't need many words to stir things up after Norma Dumont suffered a setback at UFC Vegas 116. A handful of laughing emojis on social media was enough to signal exactly how she felt about Dumont's controversial defeat, and it didn't go unnoticed. Dumont had entered the bout with significant momentum, riding a 6-fight winning streak and building a case as one of the more persistent contenders at bantamweight. Her split-style, back-and-forth fight with Jocelyn Edwards ended in a unanimous decision loss that she immediately protested, clearly believing she had done enough to win. That frustration carried beyond the cage, especially once Nunes weighed in from the sidelines. The dynamic between Nunes and Dumont has been quietly simmering for years. During her undefeated run, Dumont consistently called for a showdown with the former champion, trying to position herself as a legitimate challenger. Those callouts, however, were largely ignored at the time, which made Nunes' sudden reaction now feel less like casual trolling and more like a calculated jab. Dumont responded with noticeable edge. In a social media post, she mocked the timing of Nunes' reappearance, pointing out that the former champion had stayed silent throughout her winning streak, but chose to engage only after a loss. The implication was clear. Dumont believes Nunes avoided the matchup when it was riskier and is now more comfortable speaking up. She didn't stop there. She also hinted that this exchange could change the tone of their relationship going forward, suggesting that the rivalry has now become more direct and potentially more meaningful. From her perspective, this isn't. Amanda Nunes didn't need many words to stir things up after Norma Dumont suffered a setback at UFC Vegas 116. A handful of laughing emojis on social media was enough to signal exactly how she felt about Dumont's controversial defeat, and it didn't go unnoticed. Dumont had entered the bout with significant momentum, riding a 6-fight winning streak and building a case as one of the more persistent contenders at bantamweight. Her split-style, back-and-forth fight with Jocelyn Edwards ended in a unanimous decision loss that she immediately protested, clearly believing she had done enough to win. That frustration carried beyond the cage, especially once Nunes weighed in from the sidelines. The dynamic between Nunes and Dumont has been quietly simmering for years. During her undefeated run, Dumont consistently called for a showdown with the former champion, trying to position herself as a legitimate challenger. Those callouts, however, were largely ignored at the time, which made Nunes' sudden reaction now feel less like casual trolling and more like a calculated jab. Dumont responded with noticeable edge. In a social media post, she mocked the timing of Nunes' reappearance, pointing out that the former champion had stayed silent throughout her winning streak, but chose to engage only after a loss. The implication was clear. Dumont believes Nunes avoided the matchup when it was riskier and is now more comfortable speaking up. She didn't stop there. She also hinted that this exchange could change the tone of their relationship going forward, suggesting that the rivalry has now become more direct and potentially more meaningful. From her perspective, this isn't just about one result, but about years of unanswered challenges finally getting a reaction. Meanwhile, Nunes remains focused on a different target. Her expected return is tied to a high-profile fight with Kayla Harrison, a matchup that has been building ever since Nunes stepped away after defeating Irene Aldana. That fight carries bigger commercial weight and legacy implications, which likely explains why other contenders haven't been part of her immediate plans. Still, the bantamweight division is in a fluid spot. If timelines shift, whether due to injuries, delays, or changes in matchmaking, fighters like Dumont could re-enter the conversation quickly. And now, with some personal tension added into the mix, a potential fight between her and Nunes would come with a built-in narrative that didn't fully exist before. For now, it remains a verbal exchange rather than anything official. But in a sport where momentum and attention matter almost as much as results, Dumont has managed to keep herself relevant despite the loss, and Nunes, intentionally or not, has helped amplify that spotlight.
First, it was Jon Jones and Alexander Gustafsson. Then came Ronda Rousey and Conor McGregor. Over time, the so-called EA UFC cover curse has become one of the strangest traditions in MMA fandom, and now some believe it could be circling Alex Pereira next. The latest wave of speculation comes amid fresh reports about EA Sports UFC 6, which is rumored to release on June 19, 2026, with a potential expansion to PC players for the first time in the franchise's modern era. That alone has generated excitement, but what really grabbed attention is the growing belief that Pereira could be the next cover athlete. From a promotional standpoint, it makes perfect sense. Pereira's rise has been meteoric. Titles in multiple weight classes, highlight reel knockouts, and a calm, almost eerie presence that has made him one of the UFC's biggest stars. With a massive fight scheduled at UFC Freedom 250 against Cyril Gane, his visibility is at an all-time high. Putting him on the cover would signal exactly what the UFC brand is about right now: violence, precision, and star power. But for many fans, that spotlight comes with baggage. The curse narrative has built over years of coincidental timing. After appearing on early covers, Jones dealt with legal issues and lost his title, while Gustafsson suffered a high-profile knockout loss. Ronda Rousey was famously knocked out by Holly Holm not long after her cover appearance, and McGregor experienced a submission loss to Nate Diaz before later falling to Khabib Nurmagomedov. Even Valentina Shevchenko ran into a rough stretch in title fights afterward. With that track record, however coincidental, it's no surprise that fans reacted strongly to the Pereira rumors. Social media quickly filled with half-serious panic, with some jokingly predicting disaster ahead of his White House showdown. Others went further, suggesting the timing is almost too perfect, a potential cover reveal just days before one of the biggest fights of his career. At the same time, not everyone agrees Pereira is the right choice. Some fans have pushed for Ilia Topuria, citing his undefeated run and rising star power. Others have floated the idea of a dual cover featuring Topuria and Islam Makhachev, especially given the ongoing talk of a future super fight. But that suggestion comes with its own irony. If the curse is real, it wouldn't matter who ends up on the cover. In reality, the cover curse is more superstition than science. Fighters lose fights, titles change hands, and careers fluctuate. It's the nature of combat sports. Still, narratives like this thrive because of how unpredictable MMA can be, and because fans love connecting patterns, even when they're purely coincidental. What's undeniable is the timing. Pereira stands on the brink of another defining moment in his career, headlining a historic event with global attention. Whether he ends up on the cover of EA Sports UFC 6 or not, the stakes of his next fight remain exactly the same. But if he does get that cover spot, don't expect the chatter to die down anytime soon. For many fans, the curse will be something they're watching almost as closely as the fight itself.
Tom Aspinall isn't entertaining the idea of a code switch, at least not anytime soon. Despite growing speculation and his recent link-up with promoter Eddie Hearn, the UFC heavyweight champion has made it clear that his focus remains firmly inside the octagon. The rumors picked up steam after Aspinall brought Hearn on board as an advisory role, a move that naturally raised eyebrows given Hearn's deep ties to boxing. But Aspinall insists the partnership isn't about laying the groundwork for a crossover, it's about sharpening his overall fight game while continuing his MMA career. He reinforced that point by downplaying any immediate interest in stepping into the ring, saying he still has more stuff to do with the Ultimate Fighting Championship. For a champion in his prime, that likely means title defenses, unification bouts, and further cementing his legacy at heavyweight before even considering another sport. Part of that preparation has included adding experienced names to his team, such as Stipe Dervish, a former world champion in boxing. But again, the intention appears to be refinement rather than transition, using high-level striking expertise to evolve within MMA rather than exit it. Aspinall's immediate concern is actually far more straightforward, getting healthy and back into competition. He's been sidelined since his last outing against Cyril Gane ended in a no contest following an eye poke that required surgery on both eyes. It was an unfortunate interruption just as he was beginning to build momentum as champion. While he's back in the gym, he's acknowledged that he's not yet training at full capacity. That delay has had ripple effects across the division, prompting the UFC to book an interim heavyweight title fight between Alex Pereira in Gane at UFC 250. Assuming his recovery continues on track, Aspinall is expected to face the winner in a unification bout, arguably one of the biggest heavyweight fights the promotion can make right now. That looming matchup alone underscores why a move to boxing would be premature. For now, the message is simple. The boxing door might be open in the future, but Aspinall isn't walking through it yet. His priorities remain with defending his title, settling unfinished business in the heavyweight division, and proving he's the best in the world under MMA rules.
Ilia Topuria is already fighting at full throttle in the gym, and his teammates are feeling it. As he prepares to face Justin Gaethje in the main event of UFC Freedom 250, the lightweight champion's intensity has reportedly forced his own sparring partners to ask him to dial things back. Topuria is deep into camp for one of the biggest fights of his career, and by all accounts, he's pushing the pace to extreme levels. According to those training with him, the issue isn't just volume, it's power. Partners have joked that he's treating sparring sessions like the real fight, reminding him we're not Justin as they try to survive rounds against a fully switched-on champion. What stands out is that Topuria doesn't seem to realize when he's escalating. He's admitted that once the pace increases, it happens almost subconsciously. That kind of mindset can be a double-edged sword. It fuels his aggression and finishing ability, but it also risks wearing down training partners, or even himself, before fight night. This level of intensity isn't new. Fighters who have shared the cage or the mat with Topuria often highlight his physicality as one of his most dangerous attributes. Even Dvalishvili has previously said he stopped sparring with him after being dropped multiple times from body shots in a single session. It's a testament to the kind of power Topuria carries, regardless of the setting. For this camp, he's been working with a tight team in Miami, including undefeated prospect Lázaro Dern, using fresh looks to sharpen his approach. The goal is clear: be fully prepared for Gaethje's trademark pressure and durability. But ironically, Topuria's biggest challenge in camp might be controlling his own output rather than matching someone else's. The matchup itself has already generated strong opinions. While Gaethje is one of the most respected action fighters in the sport, a large portion of the MMA world sees Topuria as the sharper, more dangerous technician heading into the bout. That perception only adds fuel to how seriously Topuria is taking his preparation. Still, there's a fine balance in camps like this. Going too hard too often can lead to injuries or burnout, especially this close to a high-stakes fight. The best teams usually emphasize controlled intensity, saving the real damage for fight night. Whether Topuria adjusts or continues at this pace could play a role in how fresh he looks on June 14th. If this version of Topuria shows up in the octagon, though, it's easy to see why expectations are so high. And if his sparring partners are any indication, Gaethje isn't just facing a champion, he's facing one who's already in fight mode weeks before the cage door closes.
Arman Tsarukyan says he'll be ready if opportunity knocks on June 14th, but he's not exactly counting on it. The top lightweight contender has positioned himself as a potential backup for the main event at UFC Freedom 250, where Gaethje is set to face Topuria in a titled unification bout. Still, Tsarukyan doesn't believe he'll actually get the call. Despite being offered another appearance in Real American Freestyle at the end of May, Tsarukyan plans to keep June open just in case. It's a calculated gamble, staying ready without any guarantee of stepping in. While he's publicly embraced the idea of serving as a replacement fighter, privately he seems far less optimistic about the scenario unfolding. The main reason comes down to Gaethje's track record. Tsarukyan pointed out that Gaethje has never withdrawn from a fight during his UFC career, making him one of the most reliable fighters on the roster when it comes to actually showing up on fight night. From Tsarukyan's perspective, that consistency makes the backup role feel more theoretical than realistic. He also suggested that Gaethje's current position in his career plays a role. With high-profile fights and significant paydays attached, Tsarukyan believes the highlight has every incentive to push through adversity rather than pull out. In his view, unless something serious happens physically, Gaethje is almost guaranteed to make the walk. That reality leaves Tsarukyan in a strange position. On one hand, he's staying disciplined and prepared for a potential title opportunity on one of the biggest stages in UFC history. On the other, he's fully aware that the likelihood of that opportunity actually presenting itself is slim. The UFC's matchmaking strategy for the event factors into this, too. For a historic card like this, the promotion has prioritized fighters known for reliability and durability, qualities Gaethje has consistently demonstrated. That reduces uncertainty at the top of the card, but also limits chances for backups like Tsarukyan to step in. Still, being in the conversation has value. Even if he doesn't fight on June 14th, Tsarukyan remains firmly in the title picture. His recent win streak and continued activity, both inside and outside the UFC, keep him relevant while the division sorts itself out. For now, his approach is simple: stay ready, stay visible, and wait. Whether or not the opportunity comes, Tsarukyan wants to ensure that if something unexpected does happen, he's the first name the UFC calls.
Merab Dvalishvili has a new challenge lined up for his Real American Freestyle debut, as he's now scheduled to face fellow former UFC champion Frankie Edgar at RAF 9 on May 30th in Dallas. The matchup comes after Dvalishvili's originally planned bout with Henry Cejudo fell apart at the last minute due to injury. That fight was supposed to headline RAF 8, but the late withdrawal left Dvalishvili without an opponent just hours before the event. Rather than wait, the promotion quickly pivoted, bringing in Edgar for what's now shaping up to be a high-level wrestling showcase. Even though Edgar made his name in MMA, including a legendary run as UFC lightweight champion, his wrestling background runs deep. A standout at Clarion University, he was a four-time NCAA qualifier and has remained closely tied to the sport, even coaching at a high level after his fighting career. That foundation makes this a far more competitive matchup than it might initially appear on paper, especially in a grappling-focused format like RAF. For Dvalishvili, the bout is another chance to demonstrate the relentless pace and cardio that defined his rise in the UFC. His pressure-heavy style translates well to wrestling competition, and against someone like Edgar, it could create a fascinating clash between volume and technique. RAF 9 itself is stacking up as one of the promotion's biggest cards yet. The main event features Olympic gold medalist Gable Steveson taking on Alexander Romanov, while Colby Covington meets former middleweight champion Chris Weidman in the co-main event. With multiple former UFC champions and elite wrestlers on the card, RAF continues to position itself as a serious platform for crossover competition. And with Dvalishvili versus Edgar now official, fans are getting a compelling mix of eras, one of the sport's most relentless modern fighters against a veteran known for his grit,
fundamentals, and championship pedigree.
Tyron Woodley has made a bold prediction about the future of the heavyweight division, suggesting that Steveson already has what it takes to dominate current UFC heavyweight champion Tom Aspinall. Steveson, an Olympic gold medalist in wrestling, has quickly built momentum in combat sports. Despite being just 3-0 in professional MMA, his athletic profile and grappling pedigree have generated significant hype, enough for the Ultimate Fighting Championship to sign him early in his transition to the sport. According to Woodley, that hype isn't premature, it's justified. Woodley believes Steveson's combination of elite wrestling, explosiveness, and finishing ability would immediately translate against top-tier heavyweights. He pointed to Steveson's physical tools and competitive mindset, arguing that his hunger, fueled in part by past setbacks in wrestling, makes him a dangerous matchup for anyone in the division. In contrast, Woodley questioned Aspinall's recent form, referencing his last outing against Ciryl Gane, which ended in a no contest due to an eye poke. While Aspinall remains one of the most well-rounded heavyweights in the sport, Woodley suggested there were moments in that fight that exposed vulnerabilities, ones he believes a wrestler of Steveson's caliber could exploit. It's a strong claim, especially considering Aspinall's resume and status as champion. Known for his speed, technical striking, and improving ground game, Aspinall has been widely viewed as one of the most complete heavyweights of the modern era. However, his recent inactivity due to injury has left questions about timing and momentum, particularly with an interim title fight between Gane and Alex Pereira set for UFC Freedom 250. As for Steveson, his next step remains unclear. The UFC is reportedly taking a careful approach in selecting his debut opponent, aiming to match his rapid rise with appropriate competition. While talk of a title fight may be premature, voices like Woodley's highlight just how high expectations already are. Whether Steveson can live up to those predictions is still unknown, but the idea of a dominant wrestler entering a historically inconsistent heavyweight division has clearly captured attention. If he progresses quickly, matchups with established contenders, and eventually someone like Aspinall, may come sooner than expected.
Mackenzie Dern may be heading in a very different direction than fans expected for her first UFC strawweight title defense. While appearing at a celebrity poker tour event in Las Vegas, the champion casually dropped a name that caught many off guard: Gillian Robertson. Dern, who won the vacant belt at UFC 321 with a decision victory over Virna Jandiroba, had widely been expected to face Zhang Weili next. That assumption came after Zhang moved up to flyweight in pursuit of a second title against Valentina Shevchenko, only to fall short. The natural storyline seemed to be her return to 115 pounds for a high-profile clash with Dern. Instead, Dern's comments suggest the UFC could be pivoting. While she stopped short of confirming anything official, she acknowledged that Robertson has been discussed internally as a potential challenger. It's a matchup that would come as a surprise given Robertson's lower profile compared to former champions and top contenders, but stylistically, it presents an intriguing grappling-heavy battle. Dern also made it clear that nothing is signed yet and that she's staying flexible. Her focus appears to be on preparation rather than a specific opponent, with a target return window of June or July. That timeline would align with a relatively quick turnaround for her first defense, signaling that the promotion may want to keep momentum in the division following the recent title shakeup. If the Robertson fight does materialize, it could point to a broader strategy from the Ultimate Fighting Championship, potentially saving bigger matchups like Dern versus Zhang for later, while allowing the new champion to establish herself with a different kind of challenge first. Robertson's ground game credentials would still pose legitimate danger, even if the fight lacks the immediate star power of other options. For now, the situation remains fluid, but Dern's remarks have shifted expectations, and what once looked like a predictable first defense now feels far more open.
Justin Gaethje isn't concerned with the outside noise surrounding the upcoming White House card. He's focused on doing what he's always done,
putting on chaos for the fans. As he prepares to face Ilia Topuria in the main event of UFC Freedom 250, Gaethje has made it clear that he intends to make the night unforgettable, regardless of the criticism the event has received. Few fighters have built a reputation for consistency like Gaethje when it comes to excitement. With a staggering number of post-fight bonuses and a resume filled with highlight reel finishes, he's long been considered one of the most reliable action fighters in the sport. Now, with another interim title already on his record and a chance to finally secure undisputed gold, the stakes couldn't be much higher. What makes this moment even more significant is the setting. Fighting on the White House lawn is unprecedented territory for MMA, and Gaethje understands the spotlight that comes with it. Rather than feeling pressure, he seems to embrace the responsibility, particularly as one of the key American names headlining the card. For him, it's not just about winning, it's about delivering a performance that matches the scale of the event. That mindset aligns with how Gaethje has always approached his career. He's repeatedly emphasized that his goal is to give fans maximum value every time he steps into the octagon, and that philosophy isn't changing now. If anything, the unique setting and magnitude of the card seem to be pushing him even further in that direction. The matchup with Topuria only adds to the intrigue. Topuria brings precision, confidence, and knockout power, while Gaethje offers relentless pressure and proven durability. On paper, it's the kind of stylistic clash that almost guarantees action, and Gaethje is leaning into that expectation rather than trying to downplay it. Despite some fan criticism about the overall depth of the card, Gaethje pushed back on the narrative. From his perspective, the event is stacked with a variety of styles and personalities, which is what ultimately makes a fight night memorable. He believes that when fighters recognize the magnitude of the stage, it tends to elevate performances across the board, not just in the main event. There's also an underlying sense that this could be one of the final chapters in Gaethje's pursuit of undisputed gold. While he hasn't publicly hinted at retirement, opportunities like this don't come often, especially at this stage of a career filled with wars. That urgency could play a role in how he approaches the fight, potentially making an already aggressive fighter even more dangerous. In the end, Gaethje's message is simple. Whatever doubts fans may have about the event, he plans to erase them the only way he knows how, by stepping into the cage and delivering another unforgettable fight.